first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Weatherman, we can't allow any further delay. So stop your waiting.
Well, hello and welcome to the First Alert Weather Podcast, folks. We're quickly approaching the weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. We're recording this on a Thursday evening. But Camila Ortiz joins us once again. How are you doing, Camila?
I'm good. How's it going? It's been busy.
Very good. And everybody's probably wondering, who is that other person? Well, welcome to Payton Major, our news meteorologist. How you doing, Payton?
I'm doing good. I'm unpacking, getting settled. I'm actually from here, though, so it's really nice to be home.
Oh, I got a graphic for that. We are so excited to have you on our weather team here.
Got a graphic.
Because we've got a local here. In fact, so we got a lot to go through on this podcast. Camila's going to be on at 8 p.m. We're recording this Thursday evening, so we have about 35 minutes. We got an action-packed podcast. Number one, you see it right there. Who's that new meteorologist? Who is that? We're gonna introduce you here to Payton. We're gonna talk about the January dry record, which we may or may not break in the next few hours. We'll see. Of course, everybody wants to know what about the snow. So we're gonna cover that. Camila has a wild rant.
It's gonna get violent. I'm gonna flip tables. Just kidding.
Yeah. And then we're gonna talk about the big cold spell back in 1950. Okay, so first, look at that. It's like everybody's neighbor.
Aww.
There it is, Payton Major.
Aww.
So, Payton, I found this. It was on your Facebook page when you left your last station. We'll have you talk about this in a moment, but it said, when I was 12 years old, I knew I wanted to be a meteorologist.
Aww.
Is that the definition of a weather geek?
Yeah. We all have a fun story, right?
Yeah. And so, a lot of times when TV stations hire meteorologists or reporters, you're like, where do they come from? Like Dallas or Houston or this person grew up in Virginia or whatever. But notice right there, folks, it says, and Payton wrote this back in December, early January when she left her last station. I watched my hometown station in Portland, Oregon, dreaming of getting to work there someday. And where are you now, Payton?
My hometown station at my dream
KPTV.
job. Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself. You're from here, right?
Yeah, I'm actually from Beaverton, so literally right where our studio is. I mean, practically 5-10 minutes. I went to high school down the street. It's just so cool. I mean, I grew up visiting the station for career visits and all the things. We do studio tours. Again, still dreaming of getting to work here. So I keep pinching myself every day.
When do you think you first showed up here? Like, did you do a job shadow or just a tour? Or who was the first person that you kind of met up with here?
Brian and I met up. I was probably
Brian McMillan. BMAC?
Yes,
BMAC.
yes. You got BMAC. We chatted a little bit. I think I was probably 15 years old, just a wee weather nerd. I was so excited. I think he made me put on the green suit in front of the green screen. Got to find that picture.
He made you put that suit on?
Yeah.
That thing. I think I got rid of that. Yeah, but it is fun. I bet you thought that was so exciting coming to a TV station. You were in your teens, high school.
So exciting. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you went to high school in Beaverton. Then what happened after that?
Then I went to school at Arizona State University. Go Sun Devils.
Okay.
Forks up, that's what we do. And I double majored in broadcast journalism and meteorology. And I got to work at a little station at our college, too. So I got a lot of experience there.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it was just sunny and hot every day. So I had to learn to be creative.
And then you would come home for all your breaks and it would be cloudy and cool. So you probably like, good mix of weather, right?
How do you feel 3 minutes when it's just like sunny and warm every day?
Yeah.
I mean, you just talk about the climate. You're like, all right, well, this is our average high and we're usually 10 degrees above that, Yeah.
Exciting.
I know. The Colorado River's low, shocker, It's like,
and it probably forced you to get creative with graphics because I know you're super creative with graphics too.
We've noticed already.
Yeah.
Camila saw one of yours today.
Yeah, I liked
it. Good.
Yeah.
I know. It's my favorite thing. I love making graphics. So, yeah, I always think, okay, you can find the high and low in your app, but what else can you learn? And kind of go beyond the forecast and enhance it a little bit. So, I try to do that.
I like that.
All right. So you finished college. You graduated.
Yes. Finished college.
And then what happened after that?
Then I decided to do something a little crazy. I was like, let's get away from the West Coast and let's try something new. So I looked toward the East Coast and I wanted something that wasn't too hot and humid, but also wasn't too freezing. So I kind of focused on the Mid-Atlantic, and I got a job in Roanoke, Virginia. Roanoke's kind of like Bend. It's very outdoorsy. We're in the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachians. That's what they call it there. It's not the Appalachians. I learned that quick. But yeah, I got to cover all 4 seasons. We got hurricanes, tornadoes. I kind of dove into the deep end, but it was really fun.
So that's exciting. How long were you there at our station? And so that I should mention that's the same group as that Gray Corporation owns like 100 and something TV stations. We are one of them here at KPTV, and your station there was one of our sister stations. So we work for the same company, right? Yeah,
it was great. Yeah, I was there for about 1.5 years before I got, the best phone call ever. And then now I'm here.
And now we have you, which is great.
Yes.
So anyway, so you've been here about 2 weeks. Any first impressions of being back in Portland?
Well, it's just been so sunny. I don't know. It's weird because
yeah, it has.
Yeah, this, obviously I'm expecting to come home to showers every day. It's January. Usually we get that. And then the day before my last day in Roanoke, there was a winter storm. So I was like, okay, great. This is great practice. Like I'm going to come back to Oregon. We're probably going to have something like this. And then it was sunny for 17 days.
It was a good start because that was the same time Camila came back from family leave. And I'm like, oh, please don't let there be an ice and snowstorm when we're training somebody new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and in case viewers are wondering, by the way, Katie still exists. Katie has switched now to the morning shift. I think she mentioned that in one of the 2 podcasts back. She's now in the morning shift, and she hopes to join us next week, actually. We might record this at a different time, but we're recording this at 7:20, and that means Katie's probably just now going to bed.
Yeah.
So it didn't quite work out time-wise. So anyway, we are happy to have you, Payton. You're great. Payton's been great, by the way, folks. With the high confidence graphic, that was a good one. And you know what? Camila, I don't know if I told you. So, we tap out this forecast note each day, and I just slop it in there and I put it into our web page. And then I go back and she said, oh, do you want me to clean it up a little bit or, make it nicer? And I'm like, sure, please. It's like somebody taking your plates away at the end of the meal.
That's great.
And I look later and it's like she's got things, bullet points. She's got like embedded HTML code.
Yeah, more images.
Like, oh, yeah. So this is how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Youthful energy. It was great.
Yeah.
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 No, I think it's great.
Good stuff. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So, so as of this moment, we're recording this on Thursday evening. We've tied the January consecutive days dry record, which is 17 consecutive days. We've never had 18. Now, today would be the 18th, and it may still be the 18th consecutive dry day if it doesn't rain before midnight. It looks like rain is arriving. You folks will be watching this or listening. We prefer you watch it because we have lots of graphics, but you'll be watching it on Friday. And so it will have already rained, but we will know by that time if we broke a record. But either way, that was amazing. Look at all those dry days this month.
Crazy.
Camila, we were living the dream, weren't we? The outdoors people.
Oh my gosh. It was so great. I rode my bike way more outside this month than I ever have before.
Same here.
Yeah.
I went up above my house, a place called Pepper Mountain up at 2,000 feet. And my daughter and I hiked on Saturday, maybe about 2 miles up. Crunchy leaves, no mud, nothing. And then I'm like, Andrew, my son, I go, we got to ride our mountain bikes because I don't know when I'm going to be on the bike again. And then we rode up in the same general area, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
42 degrees is fine if you're dressed right. And this happens like once every 10 years. We are not going to break a rainfall record, though, for, the driest January ever because we had much drier Januaries, a whole bunch here, 1.5 inches, 1 inch. And then 1985, I've mentioned this, I think, in the past, we only had 0.06 of an inch. It basically showered twice, like around the 12th and 18th, which busted up the consecutive dry days. That's why that year, 1985, doesn't have the big consecutive dry day record. Yeah. So I figure by the end of this Friday here, the last day of the month, we probably will have about 2.5 inches of it. Will be about half of average. But temperature-wise, January was uneventful. We just had cold nights and comfortable afternoons.
Yeah.
All right, so this is, we like to keep track of this during the cool season. Snow water equivalent, the amount of snow in the mountains. And this is back on January 4th. So if you melted the snowpack that's on the ground, you could snap your fingers and make it rain, make it all as water, I should say, as if rain fell. It would about 120% of average, like water in the snowpack. But look at the change. So you watching? Everybody's watching, right?
If you got the video.
Okay. Oh.
Ooh, we got yellows.
Yeah.
That's B. That's now. Or A.
Yeah.
A, B. So what happened there? Yeah.
Didn't get any precipitation for most of the month. Yeah.
And it's not like we lost significant snowpack. We had no big atmospheric rivers or pineapple expresses, but we didn't keep gaining. The total should normally be higher. So now we're lower than average. The whole Northern Cascades are a bit below average now.
About 86% according to this graphic.
Yeah, the whole Willamette Basin there. But, some of the other basins in eastern Oregon, because they had all that precipitation and snow, much of it as snow in December, they're doing fine. And now we're going to add a bunch more. Speaking of, no, it's not time for the rant yet, Camila. I know you really want to.
No, I'm chill. I'm cool.
Okay.
I've chilled out.
Are we ready for maps and models, charts?
Let's get into the geekery.
All right. So this is our current 7-day forecast. Payton, you didn't work today, but we didn't really change anything dramatically. We've got 3 first alert weather days for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We know a weather system is coming in. By the time you're listening to this or watching it, it's already raining. That's over us Friday. Breezing warmer. We got a south wind. It's nice. Everything's back to normal. Then we've got showers Saturday and Sunday. The showers get colder Sunday. They get colder yet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But folks, we don't see a setup like last year, the big January snow and ice storm, or the big February snowstorm back in 2023. We don't see a setup like that for now. You'll see why in just a moment. But we notice it says scattered snow showers, icy morning commutes possible. And then we're going to go dry next Thursday. And you see the temperatures head downhill as well.
Chilly.
That's what we're going for right now. Always subject to future adjustment and refinement, of course, as we say. Yeah. Okay, so usually we have a looping satellite picture, but all it was just gray over us. So we're not doing that today. So this shows, you can see my cursor, right? Because I always like to ask if you can see the cursor right here, right? We have a cold upper level trough. This is about 18,000 feet up, and it is dropping now into the eastern Gulf of Alaska. We did have a big ridge over us most of January, the last 3 weeks for sure, but now it's kind of backed up and redeveloping out here. This is a classic setup for us to get extra cold air in the winter. Ridge moves to the west, cold air plunges in from the north. It's like the door is being opened as the high moves away. So that's where it is right now, midday on Friday. Now here we go. Here's an animation. I can't stop it at the end, right? Yeah, that's annoying. It won't stop. Oops. Nope. Okay, so this just shows the next 5 days. So this goes midday Friday through next Wednesday. See how the trough drops down the coast? It loses its intensity. It's not quite as cold, especially Tuesday and Wednesday. But see how it's staying a little bit offshore? Yeah, so when that happens, if that was dropping directly over us and continuing on to the south and east, if it was coming down I know it's hard to see with movement. If it was in here, we would just get a blast of cold air and it might just be dry. Instead, when it moves offshore, picks up moisture, and we get cold showers that rotate in over the top of the region. In fact, let's go to the next one. By the way, that was the Euro. I hate to say this. I'm just going to say it. In the last 2 days, the GFS did a little bit better than the Euro.
Oh my gosh. What is that?
Here.
Wild. That's wild. Wait, was it Jeff that liked the GFS more than the Euro?
Maybe Jeff just wasn't biased towards the Euro. Maybe that's
that
my
was
issue and not Jeff's issue.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
So, the Euro, you can't be right always. Every once in a while the Euro might miss a little bit. And it's minor, but it just had the troughing farther west in general. It had a little bit farther west than this. So the GFS was a little better, bringing in the colder air a little more quickly. So here is the 850 millibar temp. So this is a temperature at 5,000 feet. Midday Monday, the 3rd. Here we are in February. Celsius, of course. So it has this is the Euro for midday Monday, -8 at it over us, -8 at 850. So what is that? Times 1.8. So let's say that's going to be what? -10 would be 18 degrees at pass elevation. So this is, like 20 or so at the passes. All right. So we know just from past experience that when we have showers coming out over the ocean, and then they rotate back onshore. Basically, this really cold Arctic air up here, this is the really cold stuff, it's up here. When it rotates out over the ocean, the 45, 48 degree water, the lowest part of the atmosphere warms up. And we know for us in this onshore flow pattern with showers, in west of the Cascades, the warmest you want to be is like -6 or -7. By the time you get to -9, you're almost guaranteed sticking snow at the lowest elevations, especially at nighttime. So that's kind of one of the big markers we look for, -7 to -9 on the 850 millibar chart. So I drew in this red line. Everything north of here is pretty much cold enough for sea level snow. South of there, not quite cold enough. Payton, do you remember, and did you use this back east? Do you remember what you used for the 850 millibar temp for snow there, or was it messy there too, or do you?
We usually use the 540 line, but didn't really have to use it too much there.
Okay, 540 thickness?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Because you know what? I don't have this chart here. So that's in continental climates.
Mm-hmm.
So what I don't have the chart here. So at this time, our thickness is 500 to 1,000 millibar thickness is about 522. So we generally need around 520 to 522 to start talking snow in the lowest elevations here. Yet 540. So for us, 540, Payton, is what we use for Cascade Pass snow. It needs to be 540 or lower.
Yeah.
So that shows you when air moves out over the mild ocean, it really warms the lowest few thousand feet. So our criteria is basically much higher, or would it be lower? Basically, we need colder air to get snow down to sea level compared to if you live in a continental climate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we had snow every time the thickness was 540 decameters, we'd have feet of snow in Portland all winter.
Yes.
All right. So this is Monday, and you can see, so it's kind of marginal, but it's cold enough. Nighttime snow is definitely going to stick in this pattern if there's precipitation.
Big if.
So you got a big if, which we're going to get into in a moment. And notice on Monday, the really cold Arctic air on Monday is bottled up at the Canadian border here. When you get, we're talking minus 12, minus 15 and beyond, lower than that is what I would consider Arctic air most of the time. All right, so then Wednesday, this is fresh, hot off the press. The European, once again, I think the GFS did a little better than the Euro.
No.
So this is Wednesday, this is 2 days later. And notice how the offshore, it's warmed up very slightly there. We're still sitting here at minus 8, so kind of marginal on Wednesday. But also notice how kind of a little lobe of that modified Arctic air has slipped down into eastern Washington and eastern Oregon. So at that point, we've got a dry east wind. So it gets cooler as we go into the week. I think that's the main message here. It cools down, especially at the lower elevations. This is at 5,000 feet. But down below, it's getting cooler because we're getting a little northeasterly flow coming in here as that upper low sits offshore. All right. Now, what about precip? We all agree we have to have precip, right, for it to snow?
Got it. It's the other half of the puzzle.
Yeah, what do you see there? So this is, we've never done this before, Camila. We've got the Euro and the GFS.
Side
the
by
18Z runs them both side by side.
Yeah.
Just today, you were asking about that. So I'm like, why don't I show that?
Yeah.
So this is 24 hours, just precip only. Forget the snow maps for now. Sunday morning to Monday morning. Anything really stick out? There's not a lot of precip, is there?
Yeah.
Not a ton.
Scattered.
And it looks like the amounts aren't too
Yeah,
different.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's point 0.2, let's say up and down the valley, 0.2,
Pretty much
0.15.
Yeah.
What do we have here? 0.2 on average, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
So if we had, that could give us maybe 2 inches of snow if every shower went through, dropped snow, and it stuck. So that's the most we could do based on these two models. Okay, Monday to Tuesday. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, first I should point out there's what we call baroclinic zone going on down here with the Euro. Euro has been trying to do this, and the Canadian model's been doing this quite a bit. A lot of snow and rain down here, an organized area of precipitation here. But look at us. 200s, 300s,
Nothing.
200s, 500s. Monday, this is Monday morning to Tuesday morning. This tells me it's partly cloudy with a few scattered showers Monday. Tuesday to Wednesday, Euro's like, nah, not much. GFS is trying to swing up some moisture with basically the upper level low offshore, maybe a cluster of showers in here of some sort by Wednesday. It has more Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. So remember, at this point, we've got probably easterly flow coming out of the gorge too.
Yeah. Cold.
So I get a little nervous so up to this point, I'm like, oh, it's scattered snow showers. Okay, we're going to get some spotty accumulations here and there. Hillsborough could get an inch of snow Monday morning, and there's nothing in Portland, or the reverse.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Sandy at 1,000 feet gets nothing because a shower doesn't pass over. Yet in Beaverton, close to sea level, heavy shower passes over, and there's an inch and a half of snow Monday morning. And Sandy up at 1,000 feet gets nothing.
Messy forecasting.
Yeah.
Because this is Wednesday midday.
This is through Wednesday at 10 a.m. Ending Wednesday 10 a.m.
Yeah. So, I mean, temperatures at this point could be, 30 maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially nighttime temperatures should be chilly.
Yeah.
There's no mild southerly wind at this point to cut. That's it. What usually messes us up with these onshore flow showers. A little southerly breeze keeps going in the valley, kind of a snow killer. Makes it really frustrating. Like it'll just mix the air just enough. Yeah. Okay, so that's through Wednesday morning. So a brand new graphic here.
This is
Made
cool.
this week. Very
This
proud of
one's
this.
good.
Yeah, this is very cool.
Actually, I stole it from some other station somewhere back east, but they don't know it, so it's fine.
Shh.
We all steal each other's ideas, right?
There's only so much you can do.
Right. I mean, eventually you run out of ideas like the end of the internet.
Yeah.
So anybody want to tackle this one?
Yeah, water equivalent. Basically, what
Yeah.
we're talking about is how much rain equals how much snow. So you can see about 1/10 of an inch of rain is generally about 1 inch of snow. So you're seeing on the previous couple of graphics, some of the models are spitting out 2/10 of an inch of
Right.
rain. And then we said it'd be about 2 inches. So you can see that kind of correlates to this graphic here. 1 inch of rain could be 10 inches of snow. Of course, it all kind of
Right.
depends on temperature, if it's colder
Snow
or a
density.
little warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
This is typically for what, around 30 degrees, I think, is the 1 to 10
I think
ratio.
that seems about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
If
it's
it's in the
colder, obviously it
20s.
could be a 1 to 20 ratio. So it really just depends.
Yeah, in those
Yeah.
cold, dry climates, I think that's when that happens. I know I've seen cascades like 1 to 5 or 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Like really
Mhm.
wet, heavy snow.
Yeah.
Here's another big point. Just like over here on the left where it says, when we have a forecast for scattered showers someday, let's say it's 45 degrees, we don't care. We know it's going to be rain. It's not going to be snow or hail or anything. And we say, well, we would never say this on TV. We would never say, yeah, we expect 0.2 to 0.4 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we wouldn't. Do you care? No, you just know there's going to be some showers that'll be wet from time to time. But you sure care if I say there's enough for 1 inch of snow or less, basically a dusting, or 5 inches, then that would grab your attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge difference when it's snow. Everything's kind of magnified.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this isn't really a way to get out of a forecast and kind of weasel out of it. But the point is, you really don't care as much when it's rain, but you definitely care when it snows,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's a good way to illustrate why winter precipitation forecasting is so hard, because you
Right.
have to literally, you're splitting hairs, because like you showed, those differences really can make a big impact.
Right.
It's hard.
So, Payton, do you remember this last night? I think this was just showing up on our models. I think it was. No, maybe it wasn't yet. It looks like, now here's the deal. So our forecast is based on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday too, for that matter, that there'll be just scattered showers. But I've seen this before. If we get a whole cluster of showers that comes through, doesn't matter what time of day, when this cold of an atmosphere, it could suddenly dump like 2 inches of snow anywhere. I remember once this happened. It was middle of the day. It was a cool, showery air mass. I think highs were up around 40. But like this batch of showers rotated in, and central and northern Vancouver suddenly had like 3 inches in Ridgefield or Hazeldale or something. And meanwhile, like nothing in Portland. And so that could suddenly be like, oh my gosh, cars are sliding everywhere. Schools have to let out. So that always concerns me. Could we get a cluster of showers that basically we get more snow than we expect? That is a possibility. We're watching Sunday morning. The last 2 runs of our graph model keep showing pretty significant precip on Sunday morning. Camila and I were just looking at that.
Yeah, I saw this briefly. I think a big thing to talk about too would be our afternoon temperatures. If it did snow and then the afternoon temperatures get up into the 40s, low 40s, upper 30s, it's not going to stay around. So I think that's also a question I got a couple of times the last few days is, are we going to be, stuck in the snow for days and days and days? And no, that's just not going to be the case. It's too
Unlikely.
warm. Yeah.
The other thing I've seen in this pattern is we get a bunch of showers at 3, 4, and 5 p.m. And then what happens? Skies go partly cloudy and it immediately freezes. So then the next morning we have ice on the roads and spots. Other spots never got the shower, so they're dry and fine. And then maybe there's another third of the metro that actually did get 1.5 inches of snow at 2 a.m. So it's really messy forecasting with these scattered showers. That said, I made this provocative statement, I think during the 5 o'clock show or 6 o'clock show. I said, it wouldn't shock me at all if PDX officially gets nothing Sunday through Wednesday. Was that provocative?
A little bit. It might be disappointing to some people.
Yeah, I've seen this pattern produce no official snow, but Hillsborough gets 1.5 inches, and the top of the West Hills get 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
Or Gresham gets 1 inch, but Vancouver gets nothing. It's going to be real scattered stuff. Anyway, when I see this Sunday morning, Camila and I were debating whether we should call Sunday morning a first alert weather morning.
Because of the possibility.
And maybe take off Wednesday if models keep looking dry on Wednesday. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's our evening graph model. Is this 0Z? Yeah, 6:27 p.m. Maybe 4 kilometer resolution, so it can kind of see the West Hills and Chehala Mountain a little bit. You see that there?
Yeah.
But nothing too impressive. This was the 4 kilometer, same resolution, but the Wharf GFS from this morning. Kind of the same look. I have noticed the Wharf GFS with showers coming onshore from the west. tends to overdo the snow accumulations. Like basically the dark blue is 2 inches plus. And like the really light green areas never actually get sticking snow. It's just flurries in the air or mixed. This is ending Sunday afternoon.
Because this has, I know the legend's not on here, but you see the light green. What would that be?
That's under 2 inches,
Under
maybe
2 inches.
half inch or
Okay.
an inch.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those light green areas get nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's really helpful that, they get snow out over on a fishing boat west of the Columbia River entrance. That's what we call wasted cold air, folks.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Okay, be careful. Watch out when reading the snow charts, folks. This is the GFS ensemble. Each line is one of the ensemble members. There's 30 different ensembles. It was the morning run, 24-hour snowfall. And this is ending. Let's say if you're ending, is this Sunday, Friday? Is this Sunday? I can't see.
Sunday afternoon, yeah.
Sunday. So ending Sunday afternoon. My gosh. The average of all these is almost 3 inches in Portland ending Sunday afternoon. You'd think like, oh my gosh, we're going to get 3 inches of snow. That could shut down the city. Number one, the resolution of the GFS is not as great as we'd like, for sure, the ensembles. Notice also, they're just picking a point off the model grid, 700-foot elevation, and it's 8 miles southeast of the airport, which is kind of out in the hills around Gresham or so. Yeah, it's wetter and it's higher in elevation, it thinks. So this has always been a problem with the GFS. It used to be a bigger issue with the Euro, but then the Euro resolution went down to 9 kilometers, which helps with our complex terrain. So in our complex terrain, the resolution makes a huge difference in these forecasts, both for precip and snow. So I would be shocked if Portland gets 3 inches of snow by Sunday afternoon.
That's interesting. Why does it pick a grid point that's not the Portland airport, even though it says the Portland airport?
Well, it has to pick a point. The model only outputs I think the GFS, the GFS ensemble resolution, the GFS itself, I think, is 13 kilometers. So it's got to be less than that, I think.
Oh, so it almost just can't even hone in on it, is kind of what you're saying.
Every 13 kilometers.
Yeah.
Or less.
Interesting.
Yes. Doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the GFS. So just watch out when you're reading those. Here's the European ensemble. Notice more ensemble members here. But even it says 2 inches ending Sunday afternoon, almost 2 inches Sunday afternoon. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think I put this yellow line in here because that is Super Bowl Sunday. So there's still hints that something might happen in here, maybe, but there aren't as many. I mean, most of the action seems to be this coming week.
Yeah.
Okay, is it time?
It's time.
Buckle up, folks.
Unleash the beast.
Camila said, I've got to talk about this in the podcast. I think that was in a text to me today.
Well, I feel like anytime we have one of these, potentially impactful events on our radar, something that's maybe out of the ordinary.
I see what you did there.
Right?
On
like
our radar.
snow
Nice.
coming up. And then, people are pulling up their weather apps. And, for the record, this person sent me this screen grab. They will not be named, but it was one of our colleagues. And she goes, is this snow? Is this a snowstorm? Is this going to shut down the city? Like, I need to know. And,
that's for this coming Monday, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
for this coming Monday. So she sent me this. I think it was Sunday. It would have been Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the little snow icon. This is just a screen grab, by the way, if you're just listening, of an Apple iPhone weather app. It's giving you the 10-day forecast, and you see on Monday 55% chance of snow. You're like, oh my gosh, 1 in 2 chance. What does this mean? And so there's a lot of problems to this, right? So we kind of all started talking amongst the weather team of there's so many limitations to those generic weather apps. Don't even get me started on, speculating about something that's going to happen 10 days, even 5 days in advance, right? Because models change so drastically, even, over 6 hours, 12 hours. But weather apps are so limited because they're pulling data potentially from just one model or one ensemble, and those are changing all the time, right? We see how one run 6 hours later can go from wet to dry and then back to wet. So it makes the forecast so erratic. All this to say, download a local weather app, because there are real humans. Just like you heard Mark say a little bit ago, I noticed the WRF GFS tends to kind of overdo it. And that's why you want the human behind the app kind of tweaking things, because we can see, based on what has happened in the past, what models do well, and kind of just how to read and analyze all that data for you and kind of fix it. Right? What else do you want to add?
I felt some real anger there.
Just a little. Well, it's like a hard. What? Yeah.
It's like a pet peeve. Like
Totally.
people all the time. Well, my weather app says, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you something. You know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
and
feel the
that's
same
why
way.
from one day to the next, this app probably the next day looked completely different because it's just pulling maybe that run in that moment. And those change so fast. So we kind of try to smooth out that data for you a little bit
Right
based
there.
on
That's
bigger
that's
trends.
what we have right now.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Here's a nice screenshot of our app. This looks reasonable, right?
More detailed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
the other thing, the context, because if you just see a snow icon and a 55%, you're going, oh my gosh. We actually go in and in the text, right? We can edit and say
Right.
maybe snow likely in the hills and somewhere else, but things like that. We can get a little more specific.
Two thoughts on that. One is make sure you two, when you're buying bulk at the U.S. Foods Chef store.
Oh, nice. A little ad there.
Bread
our
milk,
I like
eggs.
how our app is right there. Who chooses that it's between Saturday and Sunday?
I don't know.
Don't
That's
click.
weird.
I mean, please do click. It pays the bills. Okay, and the other is your friend. I'm kind of concerned she's under 40%. That bothers me.
Oh, that's
Does that
my
bother
whole
anybody
life.
else?
What am I at right now? I'm at 42.
That's because you're running your apps for like 15 hours a day and your triathlon training.
No,
You're
it's because
exhausted.
you've seen it. I have like 55 apps open all at once.
Oh god.
It gives Mark a headache. It's like my email inbox.
Payton, wait till you see her PC. It's amazing.
Oh,
I mean, we
so
have
excited.
widescreens, and more than half the widescreen is covered in like apps. And
So
stuff.
many
I don't know.
tabs. Are you more organized?
It's actually none of my
Peyton?
business.
Or do you have like
try
a
to
million
be.
things open like I do?
I try to be. I feel like I'm in the middle. Like I try to be organized, but I'm not like type A. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
If it works for me, it works for me. That's kind of
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Mark will have
Yeah.
like 2 tabs open, and I'm like, what do you? I don't know.
Well, then I find out I deleted something that I shouldn't have. My kids call it Mark hasty dad or something like that. That I delete things or throw out things too quickly.
I try to clean up. Yeah.
Peyton, I had a question for you. Since you're much more, sorry, Camila, but much more recently in college than either of us.
That's fair.
So did they cover apps? Like, 'cause I'll tell you this. I was just telling Camila, like 15 years ago when we were first hearing about, people would be like, oh, my app says whatever. And I remember an episode where it was forecasting, the Apple app was forecasting a high of 3 in Portland. And we knew it was like that was straight off the GFS because it was the only model going extremely cold. And Portland has never even been that cold. And then the next run, it was gone. I don't see the wide swings generally that I used to, which tells me more apps like our app, even if we don't touch our app, it's using the same input data as the Weather Channel, I believe. They're using a compilation of models. Did they talk about that in school or no?
Sort of. They also talked about location, and often these apps generalize a bunch of zip codes and then spit out a forecast for the zip codes as well. So it's never, for your neighborhood or for your portion of the Portland metro area. And I think that's really important to know is like your friend in a different zip code will probably have a fully different forecast, but again, it doesn't really use that human,
Yes.
conscious there.
Yes.
So sometimes you're saying sometimes they might take the middle of the zip code.
Yes,
Okay.
There's really no, I guess, like organization to it. It's very much generalized.
It's generalized. Yeah.
And each company is doing it differently, of course. I do think they're better, significantly better than, like I said, 10, or it might have only been 10 years ago when they were that bad. They're all basically using, like the national blend of models sort of stuff. I think they're using more. They know that to get better, they've got to have a blend of models and decide, I just don't see the wild swings that I used to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think current stuff's awesome, and you can see radar on there sometimes, and that's cool. But I don't think we've all been there. We've looked at our app and it says it's currently raining, but it's not.
Yeah.
So
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Take it with a grain of salt for sure.
Okay, that was cleansing. I feel like, there's a lot of angst in the world
Do you feel
today.
better?
And I feel
It's like a
my
rave
neck
room.
feels better.
I'm proud of myself for not naming the colleague who sent me that screen grab and set me off.
Well, we all have friends. That was just a generic friend. We love all our friends because all
We
of
do.
them. Even, by the way, my son today, he said he texted. We installed a new computer that spits out our text data from our models that I could go to my webpage, our graph model, for example. And I couldn't believe he texted me today and said, "How come your model data isn't updating correctly?" It's like, God bless him. I raised my kids right.
Oh,
He's looking at my text model data now.
Aw, that's sweet.
aw.
Doesn't
Yeah.
fall far from the tree, huh?
That's right. Okay, we only got Camila's on in like 10 minutes.
That's fine.
Although you're not at the top of the show, I'm sure.
I'm watching
so that's
radar.
good.
It's fine.
It's fine. Nothing's going on. things are going to happen, but they're not happening yet.
Yeah.
So hopefully, by the way, I should just summarize. So yet at this moment, I'm not seeing any really model solution, for sure in the ensembles that like, oh my gosh, we have a big event coming up in the next week. Even later next week, very few models are showing, a whole bunch of moisture riding over the east wind. That's the big way we get our storms, real storms. So I'm not saying it couldn't happen towards Super Bowl weekend or beyond, but I'm just not seeing it now. Like I said, it's possible we get very light accumulations Sunday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is that pretty clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's relive the glory days.
Oh boy.
1950, here we go. Extreme cold spell. Right now, end of January and early February, I won't go into details, but basically the entire metro area had like maybe 8 to 15 inches of snow on the ground. It cleared out. A cold Arctic air mass came in from the east, but we did not get a strong east wind with this. So the cold air at night settled out. The wind, we decoupled the air moving overhead and the low level air. You get clear skies, cold, dry air mass. Snow cover is most important. Wow, it can get cold. And this is when we set our all-time low at the Portland airport, which the records go back to 1940 there.
Minus
3 below
3.
0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Minus 12 at Forest Grove. I mean, that's, yeah. Wild.
Notice downtown was 7. I believe at the time the downtown sensor it was at the top of one of the buildings. And it's interesting that those downtown records go into the late 1800s when it used to get cold here more often. We had a lot more snow in the past in the 1800s, late 1800s. But I believe that is the coldest temperature on record in downtown, even back to the 1800s. But a lot of the time it was on buildings. So it'll be a little warmer higher up.
Interesting.
I mean, that could, in an extreme cold spell like this, you could go up 100 feet and it might be 15 degrees warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inversion.
But the yellow ones remain now as the all-time lows. Others have been exceeded over time. The Hillsborough, the minus 10, they may have happened in 1990 or 1989 during a big freeze. Eugene, well, let's see. Here are the other ones. Notice Eugene, that is not their all-time low, minus 3. The Eugene record, Eugene had a minus 12. Was it minus 10 or minus 12 back in 2014 or 2009? 2014, I think. But in Eugene, in that event here in Portland, I think we were like 10 or 12 degrees because Eugene had thick snow cover in that event, and I think it was 2014. Was it 2009? Doesn't matter. But look at Sandiam Pass, Parkdale, so cold.
Minus 20s, geez.
Minus 20s in Central Oregon, the 31 at Madras. So it can get really cold here when we get snow cover on the ground and it goes calm. But those two circumstances together, and it's clear sky and a dry, cold Arctic air mass, those usually don't come together. Every few decades they do. Plus, our climate is warming, so we know it's tougher to do in the future, but it can still be done if everything's just right. Or is it just wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever you want to think.
Depends who you ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we'll be back with you again next week. Did I cover everything? Did I miss anything?
Looks like it.
I think you got
Anything
it all.
pressing that you must know?
So basically, wettest day looks like tomorrow, right? Or
Friday.
today,
and then
yep.
just kind of showery, but depending on the temperature, could see some snowflakes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the first chance for sticking snow in the city or even in the hills around the city, I think the first chance is on Wednesday.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Wednesday.
What?
So
I don't know why I just said that.
I was like, whoa.
Right? Sunday morning.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday morning. I
Okay.
bet all of us, if we're up at the right time Sunday morning, we'll probably see snowflakes
something.
in the air.
Conversational
Yeah.
snow. It's pretty. With your
Oh, yeah,
coffee,
Payton,
it's cozy.
have you ever heard that phrase, conversational snow?
I haven't, but I love it. That's so cute.
That's like
Yeah.
when in the old days when everybody was working in the office, you gather around on Monday and go, hey, did you guys see the snow yesterday? That was pretty cool. And there was some on my car and there was some on the grass, but we're all here at work like normal. Everything's running. Life is running as normal, but that just means it was exciting. We all talked about it. Conversational snow. I don't
like
remember
that.
where that term came from. Could have been from a past coworker, but there have been a few, so I don't remember.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
well, I hear noises in the
Yeah,
background.
sorry
Thanks for joining
if you
us.
saw me running off earlier, that's why I was probably like trying to turn things off. Sounds come on in this active studio sometimes.
Oh, that's okay. I was just staring at the weather graphics. I was so
Great.
absorbed by the ensemble members there.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for joining us. We should have another one out later next week, and I guess we're going to know at that time what happens. So see you later, and have a great weekend, folks.
So stop your waiting and hesitating and tell us, please tell us